This one brought to you by the New York Post. We're losing a whole generation of young men to video games. Just what I need, another article bashing gamers as basement-dwelling, misogynistic, sexist assholes from somebody who's probably just jealous that he didn't make it to stardom or whatever on whatever game that he was trying to play and is now going to bitch about it. But let's go into this, shall we? And it starts one night in the mid-1990s. I tried out a computer game called Civilizations. Oh gosh, I love that game. I'm not gonna lie, I'm slightly addicted to Civilization. I could go on for hours playing it. And the sad part is, I know nothing about Civilizations or the integral parts of it or anything, but I still love playing it, even though I really don't know a whole lot about it. But he continues. You start with a screen that was completely black, except for one square of land. As you pushed outward from this base, you make discoveries about the land around you and its inhabitants. You start to build a society, first primitive stuff like granaries, then advancing to roads and weapons. Yeah, that's about right. That's how Civilization goes. You start off in, like, the Stone Ages or whatnot and start making your way up. And, you advance, and other people advance at their own pace. That's pretty much right. So far, we haven't gotten anything. I was expecting some bashing in here, but apparently so far, not so much. Trade-off would arise. Should I build a library or a cannon? As your world advanced, you'd run into other civilizations. It was disconnecting to discover somebody else had a battleship while you were working on catapults. Well, they decided to work on their seafaring vessels and stuff beforehand, and you hadn't yet. Then again, maybe you're not near the ocean or a really large lake to really warrant getting into the sea race, I guess is a way to put it at that point in time. But, it happens. You have catapults, somebody else's battleship, because you suck at the game that bad. But, we're talking about 1990, so this guy's probably young. I understand, I've been there. As I was journeyed through all of these fascinating challenges, I discovered to my surprise that the sun had come up. Something had gone haywire with time. It's already 7 a.m. Yeah, I can sit there and say that a lot of gamers have done that. I mean, heck, what was it? I want to say Halo 3. When that came out, we were there for the midnight release. I had gotten off work. Went with my friends, met up at the one and only game place, which is a GameStop in town. Got our midnight release. Went back home. Popped it in and played it. And the next thing we knew, it was like 10 a.m. in the morning. Sun had already come up. And we're still going strong, going through Halo, playing it. That's just one of those things that we gamers tend to do. If you had asked me at any point in my relationship to Civilization whether I was happy or I would have said no. I was ecstatic. It was euphoric. Making simulated granaries, building simulated roads, firing simulated cannons. They were my obsession. Simulated, is that really necessary? Are we just padding out the article at this point? You make buildings, you build roads, train tracks, units, workers. Yeah, anyway. After a while, I realized that becoming master of a fake world was not worth the dozens of hours a month it was costing me. And with profound regret, I stashed my floppy disk of Civilizations in a box, pushed it deep into my closet, and I hoped I never get addicted to anything like Civilization again. Translation: Mama wasn't happy that I was spending all this time on games and told me to put them away, so I had to. I've been there too. But I didn't put them away. I just waited until everybody went to bed, popped them out, and played Final Fantasy VII all night long. Yeah. Anyway, today millions of people, disproportionately young men, are similarly caught in the throes of video games, which are far more enticing than their 1990s counterparts, and often involve many players engaging at once. The hand-eye coordination of these men is no doubt impressive, plus they form friendships and learn to work through problems in terms. Yeah, I mean, that does happen. Usually, depending on what you're playing, you raise your hand-eye coordination and other things. You've got puzzles to solve depending on what you're playing, so you've got to learn how to problem solve, and yeah, games can actually teach you quite a bit of things. Although the people who want to argue that they teach you to fire a gun and kill people, that's a different story, because they don't actually do that. Surveys tell us that these men are happy. The 1990s fear that playing first-person shooter games turn you into a violent psychopath have been debunked. It's what I was just touching on with teaching you how to shoot a gun because you play Call of Duty all day. You know, as much as people want to yell they're murder simulators and they teach everybody how to be violent and they go out killing, they don't teach you anything. Hitting a button to reload or having it reload automatically doesn't actually teach you how to handle a weapon and reload it. And luckily, so many people have debunked it, I don't have to really go too far into it. But yeah, it's been debunked. The problem is that for many young men, video games have become a substitute for living. No, it's just a entertainment medium. I don't think it's a substitute for living. It's no more different than binge watching Game of Thrones or whatever you want to on Hulu or Netflix. It would be the same thing at that point. Watching TV, reading a book, reading the newspaper. Do people read newspapers still? Yes, they do. Anyway, but yeah, it would be getting engrossed in a book, a manga, anything like that. You're sitting there and the next thing you know, hours have passed, your chapter's in, you're like, where did the time go? Video games the exact same thing on that. Where was I? They're so addicted and soul-consuming that, unlike other leisurely activities, every hour spent on Ghost Recon and Grand Theft Auto 5 is an hour that could have been spent more productively. Yes, but then again, all work and no play makes you a very dull boy, doesn't it? Again, you could sit there and say, let's try this again. The problem is that for many young men, books have become a substitute for living. They're so addictive and soul-consuming that, unlike other leisurely activities, every hour spent reading Game of Thrones or Harry Potter is an hour that could have been spent more productively. Yeah. The problem is that for many young men, binge-watching Netflix has become a substitute for living. You see how we can interchange this with other entertainment mediums, yet we're going to harp on video games for this for some reason. I don't understand why they feel the need to do that. It's still an entertainment medium. People are being entertained from it. They're finding joy and happiness out of playing them. Let them play their damn games. And stop harping on them. Well, you could go out and... I think somebody made the argument once, you could go out and build a table. Yeah, because we really want to go and have fun building a table. There are people who enjoy doing things like that, but that's not everybody. People want to do something else. It continues. Surely that's also true of golf. And I just made this point with other things. You know what? So you're going to say something and then... Oh, anyway. I'm lost. But rarely do you hear that someone has quit his job and is living in mom's basement obsessing over putting. There it is. living in mom's basement, obsessing over putting, or playing video games, quitting their job, no less. You are upset because there are people on YouTube and Twitch who stream video games for a living, and chances are they're not living in their mom's basement unless they're under the age of 18. Then again, maybe some of them are. I don't really watch people on Twitch that that often, and don't really watch a lot of gameplay channels either. But anyway, the ones that I do, they're not living in their mom's basement. Just saying. Let's see. Yet video game addicts are engaging in a mass retreat from life. Men ages 21 to 30 worked 12% fewer hours in 2015 than in 2000. Yes, that probably is true. You know why? Because a lot of jobs have gone away since 2000 due to automation. No offense, but, that and college is highly expensive if you're a man. If you ain't got some kind of scholarship or something to push you through it, you gotta take student loans. Those are quite intimidating when you gotta realize, you're going to have to pay those things back one day. So men aren't going to college as much anymore because there's not a whole lot of things helping them get into college, like if, say, you were a woman, especially if you're like a single mother or something, they throw money at you like what you can get money and grants and all sorts of things out of that, but it's harder for a single father to do something like that. But, on top of that, a lot of our factory jobs and everything else that people were working in the mines, the coal industry, devastated since 2000. All sorts of other things that have gone the way of the dodo due to going overseas and being automated. So when you are working less because you're holding down, say, 2 or 3 part-time jobs, which, by the way, does happen, so technically they're not working less, they're working more. They're just part-time employees at that point because of, the Affordable Health Care Act and all this other stuff that has changed the way what is considered full-time and what isn't, and how businesses will hire you. I mean, I got hit by that personally when it came into effect. Yeah, we know you've been working 40 hours a week, but because of new laws, we're going to have to dial you back to 21. And I'm just like, huh? So then I have to go find another job from my used to be full-time just so they don't have to offer me health insurance along with everybody else I was working with. And then they got to hire more staff to now cover up the lost man hours that they're getting. Anyway, it's a whole big thing. I could get into it, but I'm not going to. The percentage of young men who worked 0 weeks of the course of the year doubled in the period to an alarming 15%. Those working hours were largely replaced by gaming, and fully 35% of young men now live with their parents or other close relatives, up from 23% in 2000. Their unemployment rates jumped by 10%. Yes, like I said, we've lost a lot of jobs. I mean, the past 8 years, we have lost more jobs in this country than I could honestly shake a stick at. Why do you think I drive a freaking truck? It was the only thing available. Getting my CDLs and hitting the road, and even that is starting to dwindle bit by bit, where they're bringing in people from overseas to work that job, kicking other people out, and they're working on, self-driving trucks, which they tested on the Autobahn apparently not too long ago, last year or something, which also could see my job going the way of the dodo in the next, 5 or 10 years. But hey, other than that, I'll just have to then go find another career and start over again, and then I'll be sitting where you're talking about, where these people, are unemployed or whatnot in their 30s. I'll probably wind up having to find a new trade in a few years myself. But anyway, a huge proportion of young men are simply dropped out of the workforce and becoming PlayStation's willing slaves. Really? No, see, these people are playing for recreation, but a lot of them are streaming and doing other things to make their living. I've seen them do it. You can go on Twitch and find a litany of people who are making their livings through the donations and other things and ad revenue and stuff. And they're technically, at this point, self-employed. Just saying. And I don't think I'd be PlayStation's willing slave unless they paid me a lot of money to do it. But anyway, then that would negate the whole slave aspect. Whatever. The numbers are in the National Bureau of Economic Research study and is an essay by economist Eric Hurst of the Booth School of Economics at the University of Chicago. Okay. Should we dismiss all of these men say they're happy? Heroin addicts are happy too, as long as they're high. But what long-term effects do they face? Really? Are we comparing game to heroin? You know, heroin being a hardcore drug could kill you. Then again, on the other hand, gaming has kind of killed some people because of how they've done things. Like, having a straight-up 35-hour gaming session or something, and only drinking Red Bull and eating pizza and never going to the bathroom and then just dying. I mean, that has happened. Pretty sure Blizzard was in the crosshairs of somebody trying to sue them because their son did something like that. But, yeah. Anyway. Consider what their future holds for men whose 20 get sucked into the maw of the Xbox. The 20s are where we pick and begin to gain masteries in a career. Yeah, it is. And then your career goes away. People working, factory work. They're going somewhere. They may be going into management one day. They're preparing to go further and further and get off the assembly line, and then boom. We got a robot that can come in and do their job that they install. And then they get laid off and never get to come back. And they've worked at it hard for, say, 5 years. And then boom, automation happens. Or boom, they sell the plant because they've moved their operation overseas. That is what has happened. It's not really by choice. Then again, I guess it is kind of by choice that they're playing video games. But if they're making money playing video games, let them make money playing video games. Let them enjoy their hobby. If these men intended to start their lives at 30, they're going to find themselves at a huge disadvantage. They're going to be sullen when told to start at the bottom, when peers they've known in school have already in management positions. Again, chances are they're not in management positions because they also lost the job when everybody else lost it when it went overseas. But yeah. Maybe they'll turn down work and pick up the gaming remote. Maybe they'll drift towards their 40s without ever really launching. Obviously they're doing something. They're surviving. If they've hit their 40s and they're still able to pay the bills. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You're probably imagining them still living in their parents' basement at this point, which doesn't happen either. But whatever. Women usually don't go for men who are less successful than they are. So gaming is going to cause a surge in dissatisfaction among members of both sexes. Well, you know what? If women don't usually go for men who are less successful than them, then maybe they should change their standards like a lot of men. Usually when they got girlfriends and married, they were less successful women than them. Just saying, maybe those women have higher standards than they probably should if they're looking for somebody on the same track as they are, just as successful. Maybe they should tone down what they're looking for a little bit. Unemployed men reside at Casa de la Mama, whose major life skills involves pretend shoot-'em-ups, are not going to impress many ladies. Wait, what? Casa de la... Oh, you're still projecting that these people are living in their parents' basement. Do you live in your parents' basement? That is my question. Do you still live with your parents? Are you some 20... I don't know, 23, 24-year-old who's living in your parents' basement still, and you're just upset because there are other people out there like, I don't know, Matt Pat, who talks about video games, who's more successful than you, PewDiePie, who I've still yet to actually watch any of his videos, hardly. But anyway, because he's so successful and you're jealous at his success because you couldn't do it? Is that what it is? That's got to be what it is. You are projecting hard. Accomplished women are going to discover that competition for male peers even tougher than it is today, when they are about 3 women for every 2 men enrolled in college. Pretty sure I talked about this slightly earlier when I was like, there's no incentive for men to go to college. They're more successful by going to a trade school and learning a trade that is available to them in the area or nearby or somewhere where they want to go to, and then going and doing that trade. Because college is expensive and women have a lot more help getting into college than men do. Happiness is not to be confused with fleeting pleasures derived by artificially drug-like stimulants. Yeah, anyway. Genuine life satisfaction is closely linked to the feelings of productivity we derive from doing jobs well, and to the security of enduring close relationships, especially marriage. Yeah, also nowadays people aren't too happy or too crazy about marriage. I personally am happily married, but there are other people out there who stick away from marriage because there are plenty of people who have gotten married, then gotten divorced, and then had half their check taken away, half of everything they own taken away to the woman that they thought they were in love with, or are still in love with, but she decided, she likes this guy over here now. And then does the same thing again and again and again, because that sort of thing is a real danger nowadays, considering our divorce rate is like 50-some%. Somewhere in there in the States. So getting married may not be the best choice that a lot of men see anymore nowadays. But as for feeling productive, you can still feel pretty damn productive when you down the boss of a major raid that you've been working at all week. Just saying, that's productivity right there. Especially if you're getting paid through ads and other things when you upload that success to YouTube or Twitch or wherever it is that you're uploading it. So, all those hours I've played on WoW, as of right now, I may not play that much. And it's been a long time, and I may be a little bit lost on what's going on over in the World of Warcraft stage, but I wouldn't say that they were wasted. There's a lot of productive things that happened going through there. A lot of things I enjoyed doing, had fun, and, if I had the time, I would gladly go back and do it again. Gamer zombies risk losing touch with both the world of work and with the potential for real human relationships. The parents and friends of these young men are doing them no favors by thinking, I never see him anymore, but he seems happy. Okay, so I totally went on a rant at the end of this, and for whatever reason, it didn't record that last bit. So we're redoing that last part again. But anyway, it ends with, I never see him anymore, but he seems happy. And essentially in a nutshell, it's going on about how apparently losing touch with both the work world and potential for real human relationships, that is just projection of the max. Mainly because gaming has brought people together. I have several friends that I'm very close with still. And the thing that has always brought us together has been gaming. That's what started a lot of our friendships, whether it was WoW, Diablo, StarCraft, Civilizations, Mega Man, Final Fantasy. It doesn't matter. That is where it started. That's where our conversation started. That's how we met, is through gaming. And we're all pretty good friends. We still are. We may not see each other all the time because of crazy work schedules, families, and other things. But when we do get together, it's have a drink, eat dinner, play games, talk about this, that, and the other, watch some anime, watch some some movies, whatever, play Cards Against Humanity, and other stuff, and we're still pretty good friends. Just because we played games doesn't mean we weren't losing out on real human relationships. I know a guy who I went to basic with who met his wife through RuneScape, and he's not the only person who has stories like that, where they've met their significant other, or their girlfriend, or their boyfriend, or their husband, or their wife, whatever, through gaming. So to sit there and tell me that because of gaming they're losing touch, essentially, with reality, and they can't have a productive work environment or whatever, which is BS, because I do it every freaking day. But, it's honestly just ridiculous. Sit there and say you can't forge some kind of human relationship because of gaming. Gaming has brought together a lot of people, and it will probably continue to bring together a lot of people. And honestly, this whole thing seems like a complete projection from somebody who quite possibly might be living in their parents' basement, considering they harped on that one real quick somewhere along the line. And they're going to demonize other people who play games, especially if they're playing them for a living, because they couldn't succeed at that. It happens. But hey, what do you think? Do you think gamers are basement-dwelling, misogynistic, sexist assholes who don't communicate, never talk to anybody, never get out? I mean, sure, there are some who do. But, or do you think that, gaming can be used to bring us all together? And other things. Do you agree with this article? Do you not agree with this article? Those are things I'd like to know in the comments down below. So, get to it. Write me something. Till then, see ya.
This is Lieutenant Muriel Paris requesting immediate assistance. Klingons and Orions have beamed in and taken hostages. I only just barely escaped myself. Beam down.